First off, I want to thank the brave men and women who work behind the wall. I want to thank them on a national level because their job goes unrecognized.
How do they try to turn a guard?
Well, correctional officer. Sorry, I apologize. But correctional officer.
How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of Tier Talk. First off, guys, myself and my panel of experts, we want everybody to stay safe. We're doing whatever we can to get information out there, knowledge, tips. The key here is to get that information out there so we can go ahead and be ready to fight this thing if it comes our way. But the more information, the better. So today what I did was I put together tips from the panel. Myself, a few others. And right now, guys, I recommend that you take these tips seriously. These are tips that we've researched, we reviewed, and these are tips that need to get to you. And if possible, share it. That's the key right now. The more information, the better. So guys, if you haven't, the show Tier Talks for you, brave men and women that work in corrections. So please subscribe, interact, engage, comment, hit that bell. The bell's going to notify you every time I post a video. We're going to go to our sponsor. When we come back, we got some tips to battle COVID-19 in our prisons and jails. Stand by.
I wanted to attend a university that had an intelligence program. I wanted to look at problems different. I wanted to increase my critical thinking abilities. AMU offered those avenues to expand. Obtaining your degree as an adult, you're actually paying yourself and investing in yourself. You can't put a dollar on it, it's priceless. It's something that can never be taken away from you.
American Military University. Learn from the leader.
Guys, inmate manipulation is a course that is highly needed. It's the process that's so slow moving and subtle that you don't realize it's happening. When inmates choose to manipulate, they manipulate our need to react. Situational awareness and insight is going to save your career. It's going to save you from doing foolish things. Listen to your gut. So the more insight we have, the more we can recognize what isn't so overt, and we can correct our behavior before we fall into a trap that we can't get out of. If you allow an inmate to pull you out of your prescribed role, you are opening up a door for a host of problems. Inmate manipulation, the psychology behind inmate manipulation. Available now. Link in description.
Thank you guys for listening to our sponsor. So I'm going to start first with the mask. I believe there's a big misunderstanding with the mask. I've done my research, my reviews, making sure that I'm giving you the right information. I've had a few doctors come on the show already. So yes, I understand that some people want masks just to cover their face in case there's germs or pathogens in the air. The problem is, if you wear those masks all day, they become saturated and they pretty much become ineffective. And believe it or not, even though we're giving people these masks, let's say the officers are getting their masks, they're not wearing them all day. They're taking the mask off because it gets too hot. The key here is that you want, and I know we're in limited supply, those N95 masks to be available in each unit when someone becomes symptomatic. So first, if you have limited supply, you want to give them to your restrictive housing areas first, because those are inmates that when they're moving, they actually are cuffed. They're in restraints, and therefore they may not be able to cough into their arm, cough into a tissue. So immediately when you have an inmate that's presenting those symptoms, the N95 mask will go directly onto that inmate. That's where the threat is. You want to stop that threat from going into the air. Stop that immediately. And then if there's extra ones, sure, put it on the officers that are doing the transport. Definitely. Because again, now they're being exposed to someone that's symptomatic. But the key here, though, is definitely when you have someone coughing, get that N95 mask, put it on the individual who's coughing, who's showing the symptoms. If you have more masks, more N95 masks, then you want to give them to the other housing units, especially the dorm settings, because now when there's a concern, you can respond with the mask, put the mask on the individual that's presenting with the symptoms, and now you go ahead and you address that concern. Again, you want to limit the chance for that pathogen to get into the air. Again, I know there's a request to wear the mask all day, but again, the mask becomes saturated, becomes ineffective. These masks could be preventive, but technically they're really reactionary. Someone's got the symptom, put the mask right on them. If they're transporting somebody with symptoms, then obviously you wear the mask. When someone becomes symptomatic, you could put that N95 mask on. But that you really need those masks, again, we're limited supply, to put on the person that's symptomatic to stop that pathogen from getting into the air. Now that's my advice. What do you got?
Gerald Smith here again. Anthony has asked me to talk a little bit about tips of being safe. First, I'd like to say to all the healthcare workers out there, thank you for all you do. And to my brothers and sisters in uniform, stay strong, you're doing a tough job. So just quickly, for all those who are not aware, standard precautions are a set of infection control practices used to prevent transmission of diseases. This can be acquired through blood or other bodily fluids. And that can be recognized and or unrecognized sources. So standard precautions is the basic minimum level of infection control procedures. Today, with all the COVID-19 concerns on everybody's minds, we need to be aware of the risk for airborne and surface transmissions. So essentially, we need to maintain good hygiene habits, wash your hands, wear gloves, wash your hands again, and other barriers to limit or reduce exposure. Face masks, if you can get them and wear them. Really important is to treat everyone as asymptomatic, meaning they may not show symptoms. So to be safe, you have to take precautions and assume anyone can spread it to you and you to them. One major concern is respiratory hygiene and cough etiquette. Persons with respiratory symptoms should use cough control measures. Tissue, cover your nose and mouth when coughing, sneezing, tissue or mask, dispose of it, use tissues, wash your hands. Droplets from your lung or throat contain germs. When you cough or sneeze, you spread those germs. They become airborne. They settle on others or surfaces that are nearby. Those droplets get picked up on other people's hands. They touch their face and then complete that transmission. So wear gloves, wash your hands, don't touch your face, and follow the guidelines for social distancing. And use procedures for cleaning the environment and disinfecting the environment around you. For all those frequently touched surfaces, doorknobs, door handles, whatever it is that you know that a lot of people touch all the time, the telephone, whatever it happens to be. Clean those surfaces and disinfect them. I wish you all the best.
Good morning, guys. Retired Major Louis Soto here, also Rutgers professor and assistant director at one of our halfway houses here in New Jersey. I wanted to talk to you this morning on my way to work. Again, I want to tip my hat to all those essential personnel that have to take themselves to work, just like me. We know we take a risk every day by going to work, but we always take precautionary measures as well. Obviously, I'm always wearing my mask, N95 mask when I go out, as well as my gloves. So those are some of the simple things that we do at our facilities to ensure that our staff are safe, that our staff are working in a safe environment, and minimize all risks that can be. One of the things we do is at the front entrance, right before you even get to the metal detector, you're being asked to fill out a form that asks those 2 specific questions that the CDC requires us to ask. And it's a very good idea to know that the staff member coming in does not feel any symptoms and has not been in contact with anybody that has had any COVID-19 issues, concerns, anything like that. So filling out the form is very important for all the staff going into the facility. We also have Purell wipes, you know, and in case we don't have Purell wipes for their hands, we have hand sanitizer. If we don't have hand sanitizer, we encourage the washing of the hands and actually require it before entering our facilities. We also issue them 2 pairs of gloves and a mask, a simple surgical mask, so that they can wear throughout the day. And that's to protect our staff and also protect our inmate population. So this is one of the simplest things that you can do in order to start combating and minimizing risk at your facilities. Secondly, we start to think about, you know, when we go inside and we're interacting with people and we are interacting with inmates. Earlier videos we were talking about, it's not a matter of if COVID-19 is going to make it into our facilities. Is an actual, it's a more a question of when, and what do we do when that happens. So one of the things that we're doing is preparing for, now that we have a couple of cases of COVID-19 among the inmate population and among our staff. Best thing to do, one, is track. Once, you know, we do the simple things, the isolation, the testing, the quarantine. If that individual is positive for the inmate population, we take the roommates, the cellmates, and we, you know, isolate them for the allotted time. Medical is measuring and taking care of them throughout the day. We don't even have our own correctional staff or operation staff take care of the inmate. We have the medical staff do everything, take their temperatures, keep track of them, bring them their meals. Operations is there more of a security aspect, but we minimize the contact. So we understand that that's one of the ways that, and the best ways to combat this COVID-19. So the isolation, the quarantine, and obviously you have to keep track of them. I myself try to keep track of them along with the medical department on a long spreadsheet that gives us the date, the time we put the person in isolation or quarantine, whether they were tested for the COVID-19, whether they were positive or negative, when their possible exit date from quarantine or isolation is, and obviously anything other that any other information we need, what population they are, where they come from, and anyone else that's been in contact with the individual. We do the same exact thing, keeping track of every single resident, because sometimes in our counties, in our city jails, we have to release people to the public, release them back, whether they be released on bail, they finish their sentence, whatever it is. But we have to contact the health department if they have been either isolated or quarantined. So it's very important to keep, very important to keep track of them. Another thing is that we do is, in preparation for the numbers, God forbid, ramping up in the positive cases, is ensuring that our facilities are able to have those special areas where we can isolate and quarantine. At some of my halfway houses, I have an issue because I don't have those type of facilities. So what I've done is I've taken the units that we actually have, looking to see how many empty cells or how many empty beds we have, and consolidating units, consolidating even the same unit to bring everybody closer to be able to segregate the unit if I have to, where we have one part of the unit where we may have people in isolation and the other part of the unit that we keep them away from the people that are normal in our general population. So that's another thing that we use to combat and try to separate and segregate population. So it's something to think about at your facilities. What's the best way to consolidate? What's the best way to put people and separate people if you have to? One last thing is we contacted all of our areas, whether it be local municipalities, other people that give us the residents or inmates, and they have been very, very helpful in the manner of, if I have positive cases in our institutions and our facilities, to stop the influx of other inmates coming into our facilities. So we haven't taken an intake in over a week at this halfway house, trying to make sure that we're not bringing in people that are could be positive, or people that are being placed at risk, because we do have positive cases at our facility. So it's another thing that, you know, working collaboratively with other departments and other places that are bringing in inmates into your facility, try to minimize that. And if at all possible, stop any intakes coming in until you're able to, you know, normalize your institution and the cases are not as strong. As far as staff is concerned, there's another big deal, big issue. We have staff call in if they're going to call in sick with some symptoms, or they've gone and tested themselves, gone to their doctor, and their doctor recommended them for that self-isolation. We ask them to call in and give us that information. We keep track of that. Any positive cases, they call in to our HR department and advise them of such, that they had a positive case, and then it's our job to look at the schedule, see who they've been working around, and inform those individuals. In most cases, if we find that a staff member has been around other staff, we take them and tell them that they need to stay home and isolate or quarantine, contact their medical department so that they can get either tested, whether they're symptomatic or asymptomatic, and this is for our staff to keep them healthy, to keep them abreast of what's happening. So those are things that can help us in an institution minimize the COVID-19 series. I know there's many, many more tips that we can give you, and we will follow up and give you more as we are learning throughout this crisis. But I hope that these tips help you in your facility. Hopefully you put them to practice and use. They are best practices right now in New Jersey, and I think we're gonna all stay safe and flatten that curve. So God bless and stay safe.
Greetings, my fellow keepers of chaos, my fellow correctional officers and native Tirtakians. My name is William Young, and I'm a correctional officer and author of When Home Becomes a Housing Unit. And I wanted to take a second just to thank you for your tremendous dedication and your service and your sacrifice during this trying and troublesome time. Your ability to continue to serve selflessly day in and day out, no matter what the challenge is, no matter what the condition is inspiring, is motivating. And I want you to know that I personally appreciate it. I wanted to talk to you for just a second about fear management and how to separate fact from fiction. This situation is changing minute by minute, hour by hour, and every day our politicians are on the TV and on the radio, and they're putting on new restrictions and offering up new guidelines, and we're forced to implement these new policies and procedures inside of our facilities and outside in our neighborhoods. And what I found to be helpful, to be beneficial for me, was to cut out the majority of that noise. See, I found myself getting stressed out. The pressure of everything coming crashing down at once was too much for me, so I cut out a lot of the noise. I stick to my local briefings. I cut out all of the pundits on the radio and all the newspaper articles, and I stick to the CDC website. I stick to the World Health Organization. I stick to the local broadcasters, so I know what's going on in my own neighborhood. I suggest that you do the same. See, there are brothers and uncles and cousins and friends of people working all over the place that will give you all kinds of crazy information. And when you have all of that messing around in your head, it's hard to focus on the mission. So what I suggest, what I have done, is cut out all of that noise. Do the research for yourself. Educate yourself. Don't rely on what others say. Go out and find that information. If you don't have the answer, go find the answer. Don't necessarily just take what the person next to you says. Right? Because when I came into work tonight, I heard that so-and-so has presumptive COVID-19. I heard 200,000 people are going to die from COVID-19. But these people are just reading the headlines. They're not doing any of the research. And if you just read the headlines, if you just listen to what other people are saying, you're going to go crazy. So take a little bit of time, educate yourself, do a little bit of research, cut out all of that outside noise and focus on your neighborhood, your community, your facility, your family. And we'll make it through this. We'll make it through this together as a family, like we always do. All right, guys, until next time, be smart, stay safe, stay sane, and we'll talk soon.
Hi, Connie Eileen here from the Civilian Corrections Academy. Today we're just going to talk a little bit about coronavirus and how you protect your family, right? So in and out of facilities, it really shouldn't be anything different from what you're already doing. Is you want to make sure you wash the day away, right? So it would be great in this situation, understanding the gravity of this situation, that when you finish shift, you're able to change your clothes outside, right? So that you minimize the probability of bringing any of the germs into your car. But if you cannot do that and you must get in your car, there is the possibility of you covering your car seat, your own car seat where you're driving. It sounds like extra, but it is what it is. So that you don't have those germs in the seat that you're going to sit in with the old clothes from today and your fresh clothes from tomorrow morning, right? So being able to sort of sanitize your car would be ideal. If you're unable to do that, once you get home, have a laundry basket at the door. That way, dirty shoes don't go through your house. Whether you have small children, however your house is set up, most people at home aren't walking around with shoes on. So for me in my home, we take shoes off at the door, and that way we're not tracking into the house any of the germs. If you got little kids who are crawling, even more important for you to take those shoes off. The other thing I want to say is this is when you practice some social distance, right? If you can't take your clothes off at the door, you might want to kiss your wife or your husband after you've been able to get to the bathroom to take those dirty clothes off and wash your day away. I'm more concerned about coming into the home with possibly contaminated clothes and having your kids come and hug you. It's a natural instinct to do that. So depending on your relationship with your family and such, it may or may not be a norm, but just to prevent things like that, like children getting contaminated because of whatever you might have been exposed to at work and brought it home, that's one way to try to help minimize that exposure. The other thing I want to just highlight too is just teaching kids what's the right and wrong thing to do, right? So I have a niece, she's got this habit, fingers are always in her mouth. She doesn't suck her thumb or anything but fingers in her mouth. And so coronavirus certainly became a big conversation for us and her and my daughter. They're about the same age, simply because that's a habit of hers, and habits are hard to break, right? And so, especially if a child doesn't understand. So the fact that we went through explained coronavirus, explained how they can get it, like she's like scared to put her hands in her mouth at this point. But you know, it's kind of what we need to do to make sure that our families stay safe. You know, hand washing. You run to the bathroom, wash your hands before you come out. You go to eat, wash your hands before you eat dinner. Like things that we know should have already been in place, things that some people were already doing, some things that some people aren't currently doing, you know, but they are good habits that should already be in place. It's just more stress on those habits simply because we know the impact that the virus has had. The other thing I want to highlight is those high touch areas in your house, your kitchen countertop, your doorknobs, the doorknob to come in the house, the doorknob for the garage, the doorknob for the bathrooms, the doorknobs for the bedrooms. Keep them clean. High touch areas, right? For me, my daughter's always got her iPad or her phone in her hand. So high touch in my mind is I need to make sure that the iPad and the phone are always clean. Same thing with her keyboard. She's distant learning now. She's on the computer. I'm constantly wiping that keyboard down. So it's just these kind of things. And because it's in my forefront of mind, she's constantly thinking about it. She thinks about it as well. So, you know, if we go out and come back in, we're usually talking about washing our hands. She makes sure she gets to the bathroom. I get to the sink. We wash. The other thing I saw the other day, though, which I thought was really, I don't know if it's bright or if it's over the top, but lady went to the grocery store. She came back home, and part of her ritual was always she'd unpack the groceries, put them away. Now she wipes everything down before she puts them into the cabinet. Something I hadn't necessarily thought about, but I was like, oh, absolutely. You don't know what people are coughing over or not doing or whatever. And forget about the crazy people that we see online who's out there coughing on the fruits and vegetables. There was one article I read with, you know, instead of having like these, adding more chemicals to the vegetables, And the fruits, the fresh fruits and vegetables, that all you need to do is wash them with soap and water before you put it into your crisper in your fridge, right? So these are things that we could start doing if we're not already doing them to make sure that we're keeping our family safe. I think the other thing we don't want to ignore is our mental health and our family's mental health, right? The kids are missing their friends at school. And so one of the things we've done is I've set up Zoom calls where Kendall, she literally sits and Zooms with her classmates, which they are keying for 30 minutes to an hour, which is awesome. But it allows them to connect and also for them to see that they're not in it on their own. Like their friends are going through the same things. She's finally stopped asking me for play dates as though she was on vacation. But it's trying to get them to understand like these measures are being taken so that you stay safe and that you stay healthy. And we go out and we play in the backyard. It's essential for me. It's essential for her. I mean, even for the dog, he needs to get out, right? So being able to go out, get some fresh air, still maintain social distance from others, but get that energy out, stay active. The fridge, the couch, the bathroom, not a good pattern, right? That may be happening for many people who are just grazers or stress eaters, or we're bored, right? So staying active is essential, and making sure that your kids stay active is essential as well. We don't want that summer comes and hopefully COVID is contained, that we can't get off the couch. So we want to make sure that we are taking measures to make sure we're mentally, physically safe. Our families are mentally and physically safe. For people going into facilities every day, I want to say thank you for your dedication, for your commitment, for putting yourself on the front line, and for keeping us safe, because that's what you do. You protect the public. And we know that the virus has made it into many facilities. It made it into facilities here in Connecticut. Our first exposure, Corrigan Rogowski in Uncasville. As far as I know right now, the inmate is contained, but I'm sure he's not the only one. So when you come back home, I just want you guys to also know keeping our family safe may be social distancing from our family. Truly, you may have to self-quarantine if you feel signs and symptoms, and don't hesitate to do that, because that's how you protect your family. So I thank you for all that you've done. I thank you for what you do every day. And I just want you to stay healthy and stay safe out there. Till next time, be well.